college football has a bowl eligibility problem. JMU is currently ranked number 23 in the country and are undefeated this season. They are 8-0. Jacksonville State is 7-2. They're 5-1 in conference play, and they're currently second in Conference USA. Neither of those two teams are gonna play in a bowl game this postseason. You need to win 6 games in order to be bowl eligible, but both JMU and Jacksonville State recently made the jump from the FCS level to the FBS level. The NCAA bylaws state that a team can't be bowl eligible for 2 years after making the jump. Now, the reason for that rule is essentially to stop teams from trying to jump up before they are actually ready. Clearly, both JMU and Jacksonville State were very ready. They've already had a ton of success, and some of that success really isn't that surprising. Now, JMU is truly the poster child for this bowl eligibility controversy, and that's because they made the jump back in 2022. Jacksonville State and Sam Houston made the jump in 2023. The NCAA did deny JMU's waiver to have their FBS transition period be reduced by a year, that way so they could actually play in a bowl game this season, but they said no. And really, if you ever watched JMU at the FCS level, you know that they weren't just ready, they were essentially an FCS powerhouse. JMU hadn't had much success until they hired Mickey Matthews in 1999, and everything started changing from there. He took them to the postseason in his first season in Harrisonburg, and they won a national championship in 2004. Now, it slowly fell off. JMU only made the playoffs once in his last 5 seasons. Then Everett Withers was hired. He's actually the current Temple defensive coordinator. He was able to take JMU to the postseason in back-to-back years, but they did not win a single game. Now, the most dominant stretch for JMU at the FCS level, and one of the things that did truly help catapult them to their jump to the FBS, was a 4-year stretch where they made 3 championship games, and that all started with Mike Houston taking over as the head coach in 2016. If his name sounds familiar, it's because Mike Houston is the head coach at East Carolina. He left JMU after 2018. The then Elon head coach, Curt Cignetti, took the job in 2019. He was actually the Alabama wide receivers coach from 2007 to 2010 under Nick Saban. One of the very notable wide receivers he coached when he was there was Julio Jones. He clearly had a ton of success at JMU. He coached there for 3 years before they actually made the jump to the FBS. They made that 1 championship game under him and then played in the semifinals every single season. Now, funny enough, I was actually at the last JMU FCS victory, which was back in 2021. Me and my buddy drove up to Harrisonburg and watched the Dukes take down Montana State at home. They ended up losing the next week in the semifinals, but it was cool to now be able to look back, especially with JMU doing good at the FBS level and knowing that I got to see them in their final win at the FCS level. I like JMU. It's fun to go up there. I really don't root for them, but I will say the crowd still isn't that crazy compared to like a Virginia Tech game, but you could argue that it's already better than Virginia, maybe even Old Dominion, definitely better than Liberty. But after that 2021 season, they finally made the jump to the FBS in the Sun Belt, and usually you wouldn't expect too much from a team jumping, but JMU exceeded every expectation. They went 8-3. They were 6-2 in conference play, and they were tied for first in the East Division of the Sun Belt with Coastal Carolina. At one point, they were ranked 25th in the country. Fast forward to this season, they debuted on the AP poll at 25 again, and they moved up to 23 after a close win against Old Dominion. We actually ended up going to that game last weekend. It was a blast. It's always fun going up there. It was Hollow Weekend, and no one does Hollow Weekend like JMU, at least in the state of Virginia and the colleges here. But it was a blast. It was cool. They did only beat them by 3. The Hokies beat them by 19. That's all I'm going to say. But JMU got a much needed win, and who knows if they're even going to take a loss this season. And even then, it doesn't matter. They won't be playing in a bowl. They were the only team to play in their first FBS season in 2022, but there are 2 teams playing in their first FBS season right now. Jacksonville State is the only one that's bowl eligible. Their history goes way back. Their first season was back in 1904. Man, that was a crazy year. They didn't have a ton of success until they started playing in the Ohio Valley Conference in 2003. So about 100 years of not a ton of success. Jack Crow was the head coach from 2000 to 2012. He ended up winning 2 OVC titles. It should have been 3, but they were actually ineligible in 2009 because of academics.
Now, is there anyone here that can tell me why most alligators are abnormally aggressive?
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Bill Clark took over in 2013, and he was only there for a season. Then he jumped and went to UAB, and he was their head coach up until 2021. But he was able to take Jacksonville State to the FCS quarterfinal. Wasn't there very long. Then John Grass became the head coach, who is now a Clemson analyst. When he was there, Jackson State made the postseason and were conference champions in 6 of 8 seasons and made a championship game. Rich Rodriguez became the head coach in 2022. Now, he's been a head coach a lot of places: West Virginia, Michigan, Arizona, well known. He ended up going 9-2. They went 5-0 in conference and won the ASUN title. Now, Jacksonville State's made the jump, and they're still good. It hasn't changed. They're 7-2, 5-1 in the CUSA, second in the conference behind Liberty. They've had immediate success in the CUSA already, but there is another jumper, and that is Sam Houston, who, let's say, hasn't been as good. Sam Houston has made the FCS playoffs 9 of 11 seasons and made the national championship 3 times under 2 different coaches. They lost to North Dakota State in 2011 and 2012. Willie Fritz was actually the head coach there from 2010 to 2014, the now Tulane head coach, who's done a fantastic job there. Then in 2020, Sam Houston finally won it all. They beat South Dakota State. At the time, Casey Keller was the head coach, been there since 2014, and he still is. And the transition to the FCS level has been rough, man. It's been ugly. Sam Houston is 0-8 and 0-5 in conference. Not exactly the same story as JMU and Jacksonville State. Now, I do actually care a little bit about Sam Houston. I've watched more games of theirs than I probably should have, but their offensive coordinator is Brad Cornelsen. He was the offensive coordinator at Virginia Tech under Justin Fuente when I was there. So I got a little bit of interest in Cornelsen. He got a lot of shit when he was at Virginia Tech, and it sounds like it's ugly again in Sam Houston. Sometimes it's just not easy to jump like that, but it has been for JMU and Jacksonville State. The rules are the rules, and other teams have had to deal with them, but let's be real, they're outdated. JMU and Jacksonville State should be playing in bowl games. Now, technically they can if not enough teams win 6 games, but we're gonna have to wait and see. But ultimately, there is no doubt that we should be watching these 2 schools play in some random state against some random team in some random bowl game come late December. That's what college football is all about, and because of the eligibility rule, the NCAA is robbing us of it.